Okay, it's 2 o'clock Eastern and we're going to get started. I wanted just to sincerely thank each and every one of you for joining us today. This is our second in our 6-part fall webinar series, so we're very excited to have you. My name is Jessica DeGraff and I'm the Director of Retail Accounts here at Proven Winners. And I, along with my colleague Heather Porre, have the really unique opportunity to work with garden centers like yours to really help you to fully leverage the marketing support tools and programs that we offer independent garden centers. As all of you know, our number one goal as a brand is to help gardeners to be successful in their journey with plants. And so not only is that our primary goal, but it's also to drive them to you, the garden center, as the local source for knowledge, for inspiration, and for our plants. So we've got a great afternoon for you today. We're really excited. But before we get started, I wanted to walk through just a few housekeeping items as a part of the webinar. So today, all attendees are in listen-only mode, but that said, we absolutely would love interaction with you. So you can communicate with us in a couple different ways. On your toolbar, you'll have a chat or a Q&A icon. And so what we'll be doing with that is we'll be capturing your questions as you ask them. We'll pose some of those to Christina as we go through the session, and then we'll also have a Q&A session at the end of the webinar. One of the big questions that we always get from each and every one of you is, is there a recording of the webinar? Can I go back to the information that we've been talking about? And you absolutely can. The URL at the bottom of the screen, provenwinners.com/IGC webinar series, will allow you to access not only the webinar today, but all of our archived webinars from the past 3 seasons. So if you're joining us for the first time today, I would highly, highly recommend that you take a look at some of those recordings from past webinars. So without further ado, I want to introduce our speaker today, and I'm so excited to have Christina Howley from Spring Meadow Nursery with us. Christina is just absolutely amazing at what she does. She's been with Spring Meadow for the past few years and really is hyper-focused in on social media and really working on engaging with that end consumer. And most recently has taken on their TikTok channel. And I know today everyone is joining us because TikTok is a big buzzword. And we've gotten a lot of questions about, if I'm not using TikTok, A, do I need it? And B, if I do need it, how do I use it? And how do I leverage it as a part of my social media strategy at my garden center? So Christina's going to be talking a lot about that. The one thing I want to leave you with, though, is over 86 million users in the US are utilizing TikTok, over 8 million in Canada, and that number is growing exponentially each and every month. And so we do think it's an important part of the full strategy. And so without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Christina.
Hi, everybody. I'm excited to be able to talk with you all today, obviously about a pretty hot ticket item. I just want to go ahead and say, yep, I manage our social media for Proven Winners Color Choice Shrubs. I also answer feedback questions. I write our newsletter. So I have a pretty full perspective of connecting with home gardeners. And I think that is something that a lot of you can probably relate to. Let me share my screen really quickly. All right. There we go. So I think a lot of you can probably relate to that. You're wearing a lot of different hats. You are on social media, but you're wondering, should I take the dive into TikTok? And I just want to say that it's like every other social media. It deserves its appropriate attention. So whether you came here today with extreme excitement, you are ready to start your TikTok, you're just curious, should I start TikTok? What does it look like? Or you're already doing TikTok and you're here saying, how can I do this better? I'm excited to meet you where you are. And I will just say that like social media, be prepared to give it the time that it deserves, because that's how you will see success. So I figured I'll just walk you through pretty much the journey of starting a TikTok and having success with it, and give you what I've learned myself from failing a number of times. I definitely manage our TikTok, but I'm not by any means a star. So you will see I am part of the community and I'm on the journey alongside you. So this presentation is just to show you how to get started without making the mistakes that I made myself. So The first thing that we should talk about is how people go viral. You're like, oh my gosh, okay, so TikTok. The first thing I want to do is make a video that is seen like, I don't know, maybe just like 2 or 3 million times. I don't know, that's it. And I gotta say that it does happen, but it looks really similar to when you're just kind of making TikToks and you're getting to know the platform. So making a TikTok versus making it on TikTok look really, really similar. Those are the same things in the list. You have to listen, you have to plan, you have to post often, and you have to Twizzler those fingers and cross them and hope that your post does well. And there are definitely things you can do to do TikTok well. So first, have a goal. So when you sign up, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to make it a business account. And that is important because you'll be able to see the analytics. So if you're managing social media for Instagram or Facebook, you probably are very familiar with looking at the back end and seeing like, okay, how many people saw this? When are they active? What are the differences between what I've posted? So to be able to really make it on TikTok as a business, as a brand, you definitely want that insight. So sign up as a business account. This will limit you a little bit, and I'll talk about that later, but it is important to do. So definitely start out on the right foot. And like any project, you have to have a hope of what to accomplish. And I'm sure a lot of you here are just hoping to drive people to your garden center. And that's a great goal. How are we going to do it? Essentially, you have to set out on the right foot. Because if you're just making funny dancing TikToks, people will probably like them, but they won't even know that you're a garden center and they won't know why to trust you. So that's a really important place to start. And then from there, consider, am I going to do ads? Am I going to interact with influencers? Am I just going to boost my posts? Am I going to go just organic posts and try to get that attention organically through a regular post? There are a lot of ways to use TikTok, and you could try just to start out and be a regular user and hope to get organic attention, because then you won't be feeding the TikTok machine and saying, okay, I paid for an ad once and now TikTok isn't showing anybody my things. So just something to consider. And last, if you have a business, if you have a brand, you've likely built up an aesthetic, voice. And so you're going to want to keep that the same across all platforms, including TikTok, where it is really easy to lose yourself. You find an audio that you think is really funny, or it's really catchy, or it's part of a trend. And you have to really stay true to the sense of your brand and the standards that you have set, because otherwise it's just going to be kind of a muddle, and people aren't really going to understand what to expect from you. So treat your brand or your business like a personality, somebody that people will get to know. So that includes setting limits. Are you going to dance? Oh, I don't know. If you have a really fabulous social media manager and they are ready to dance and they've got a really easy way to fit that in with the content, go for it. That is going to be amazing. If they're dancing, that's one aesthetic. Another thing to consider are the sounds and the music that you'll use. Obviously, there are a lot of different genres of music, but there are other things like, are you going to post videos with swear words? I don't know. Something to consider, because a lot of times, if you're a social media manager, the person who owns the business will be watching, and they might not appreciate that this trendy song does have a swear word in it. So, very easy to just look past, but definitely keep it in mind. And my favorite thing to think about is the whole aesthetic of your page. So when you go, if somebody's going to click through your TikTok and visit your page and scroll through your TikToks, are they cohesive looking? Do they fit your brand's aesthetic? Just something fun to think about. And if you're not sure what the heck I mean, I'll have an example a little later on of what our page looks like if you were to scroll through it. But there are so many people out there who are building their own brands beautifully on TikTok, and they have a really solid aesthetic. So definitely try to do that with your profile picture and your home feed, so that people can get a really solid understanding of how you look. So That's all just before you even start. And there's also something else to do before you even start, and that's to use the app. So unlike other social media where you might not necessarily need to engage to be able to really know what to post, like you see success and you're like, okay, great. I posted that Facebook post and it did well. Awesome. Hands off. Done with that until the next time. TikTok's just not like that. TikTok is an app that you have to use to do well at. So you're going to listen, and that is a huge part of succeeding on this app. You'll start and you'll ask yourself, who do you know on TikTok? And I don't necessarily mean like people. I mean, like, are other businesses on TikTok that are your colleagues or your competitors? What are they doing? How is it being received? What are you doing that's different? Those are important questions to ask yourself before you even start. So then you'll kind of take a notice as you scroll through your For You page, as you explore the app. What's popular? What's doing well? There are waves through TikTok. It is like the ocean. You'll be on the shore and you'll see something wash up and you'll be like, this is perfect. This is exactly the kind of content that I want to post. And it will last for a few minutes and it'll be glorious and everybody will be doing a great job. And then another wave will come and you'll be like, whoa, this doesn't apply to me. That's why it's important to listen, because you are able to see what is popular. There was a little bit of time when long form videos were so popular. People were telling their stories, and those are still popular in whatever context is in their niche, which we'll get to. But get a general feel of what's popular, and then how do you fit in there? Just think about that. And then while you're scrolling, you will take a look at the engagement. I'm not sure if you guys can see my mouse, but if you can, you'll see I'm going around the little conversation bubble, and then under that is a little bookmark sign. So those are the two indicators of how a post is being engaged with. Those are comments, saves, and then at the very bottom there's an arrow, which is a share or a send. And that's a great indicator of how engaging a post is. So take a look, see what's being engaged with. Maybe something's getting a lot of views, but not a lot of likes and not a lot of engagement. Interesting, something to ponder. Think about that. And then while you're scrolling, while you're doing all of this, definitely save the audios. If any of you are already using TikTok, then you know that finding a good audio is probably 80% of the battle. You can scroll through and hear like 90 things that you are like, that doesn't apply to me. That doesn't fit our aesthetic. This audio is just not for me. And then when something happens and you click and you hear something, you're like, oh my gosh, I have the best idea for that. If you don't save it, it is very hard to find an audio after it has just refreshed off your screen, or maybe you set the app down and then whoops-a-daisy, you never came back to it. So in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen, you'll see that little circle. So you're going to click on that and that will bring you into the sound. So just add it to your favorites, and keep your fingers crossed that that audio is approved for commercial use, because with a business account, it means that sometimes you will find an audio that you think is so amazing, but it's not licensed for commercial use. So if you're a brave young soul, you could probably recreate the audio. There have been some really funny people doing that. But otherwise, you're just going to have luck saving the audios that you can use. So we've done all of that. We have considered what our goals are. We've been listening. We are prepared to finally make the videos. It's actually just an experiment, the whole thing. The whole thing is an experiment, much like other social media apps that have waves of success and failure. TikTok is like that, but just kind of more brutal, as I personally have experienced a lot of waves and what's the dips. I'm just, you're up, you're down, you're up, you're down. So it's an experiment. And the best way to make your way through this experiment is to post what you're excited about. I have a feeling a lot of us are here because we really love plants. So don't let go of that. Don't let the slog catch you and make you kind of like robotically move through the day. And then you're like, okay, check, I posted a TikTok because I promise that if you're posting something that you're not excited about or that just feels like a checked box, it's probably not going to do that well. So post what you're excited about. Walk around your store and see what's relevant. Are your hydrangeas looking particularly amazing? Something that's seasonally appropriate. You're trying to push this out of the door because it's on sale. Find a very creative way to post about that, so that people who are in your area will see and say, oh my gosh, that looks so amazing right now. I have to go get that. And the best thing that I have found to post about is what I'm getting questions about at the time. So I have a really a juicy way to get that. It's because I answer feedback. So I'm literally hearing from home gardeners every single day about what they're seeing and what they have questions about. But I would guess that you are too. People are coming in and they're saying, oh my gosh, I just got this new plant and I don't know if it needs this fertilizer or any number of questions. But you might notice that there's a trend. How many people are answering this question? So if you can get out there and answer the question, you become a resource. You become a friend, somebody who's knowledgeable. And so people will kind of put that in the back of their minds and they'll start to trust you. They'll build that relationship, which is what social media is all about. So that's my number one thing, is to post what you're excited about, post what's happening. And that kind of goes within the same point, but film when you're feeling inspired. I know that a lot of times influencers and individual people suggest not to film in batches. They're like, okay, only go out when you're feeling inspired, and you can only do one video at a time because then otherwise it won't feel genuine. That's just not realistic for businesses because you're probably doing a lot of other things too. So once you get a few really cool ideas, go out, just film them all. And you'll decide which one to post first, which one to hold on the back burner. But that's an easier way to do it for a business, because you're not just allowed to wander off at any given time to fulfill your dream, unless you're me, because I do get to wander away. But most people don't get to just spring out of their desk and be like, well, I'm inspired now, so I can just go and film that one-off video. So just take that with a grain of salt. Next is to see what flops and what gets views. And then keep it all. Make sure that you try really, really hard not to delete anything. There is kind of this spooky thing where I think TikTok does pay attention to when people are deleting videos, because to them it shows that you are creating content that you yourself think is subpar, and you're like, oh, I gotta pull that back because it just didn't perform well. Does that mean that I've never deleted a video? Of course not. I've deleted videos. I've been like, whoa, that made no sense. I don't even want that on the internet anymore. It doesn't mean don't delete videos ever. It's just try really hard not to, because it could also come back around. One of the things about TikTok is that sometimes you'll catch on to an audio before it really starts and catches fire and turns into a bonfire. So if you happen to do that, there's a chance that a TikTok that didn't perform well at first might end up doing really well randomly, it seems, for no reason. So keep it all. And then take a look at the analytics. This is the one thing that I had mentioned. Sign up for the business account, keep checking the analytics. One of the most helpful things, I think, is checking to see when the people who are looking at your TikToks are actually on the app. For us, the highest time is 9 p.m. If I could stay awake to post the TikToks at 9 p.m., I'm sure they would do better. But so this advice is just for you, because I bet you'll be able to post them when your people are watching. Hopefully it's not 9 p.m. So just consider watching the analytics. And then when you're thinking if it's a flop or if it got views, was it the content itself? Was it too much of a niche? Are you the only person who would understand it because you made those connections in your head? Or was it just the timing? Was it just that nobody was on TikTok at 9 a.m. and you were just so excited about the video, but it went out at a time that nobody saw it? just a few things to think about as you experiment and as you're posting. Don't get discouraged. Sometimes it just takes like the one sound and the one piece of advice that people are like, oh my gosh. So just keep working at it. And as you're experimenting, you will eventually settle right down into your niche. So a lot of us, I would assume most of us, are creating garden identity content. This is content that makes people go, that's me. I can relate with that. I'm that person, or I've had those feelings, or, oh my gosh, I needed this advice. Something that appeals to a person and draws them in. That is your niche. And you might have a different niche. It might not be garden content. It might be tools. It might be hardscape. It might be landscape. It might be soil. But you are going to become very ingrained in that niche, because that's how you're going to actually reach people. You don't actually want to meet people who are just into surfing, because you can't plant plants on a surfboard in the ocean. So don't worry about everybody. Worry about your little collection. That can be done very easily in our industry with putting out time appropriate tips. So you're making cool content, snappy content that's like, hey, it's time to fertilize your annuals. Like you could just do that like every week. You'd be like, hey, look, we're here, we're doing it. You can say, oh, it's ready. You're ready to chop down these plants. It's that time of the year. So you're making your time appropriate tips. And the other way that you can work and does often work out, but when it doesn't, it really doesn't, is using trending sounds. Okay, so original audios can be amazing. They're a great way to get somebody's attention, because they're like, oh, I like this sound. I like what people do with this sound. I like this business. I want to see what they have to say. But sometimes a business doesn't know how to use the audio. I've been the person who didn't know how to use the audio. So if you are seeing a TikTok and you're like, oh my gosh, this is viral, I'm gonna put in my 2 cents, but it doesn't actually click and it doesn't make sense altogether, it's hard to watch. So be careful with original sounds. So the next thing that you probably heard a million times is to post regularly. I think that there's probably the itch inside all of us to try and be like, okay, immediately I'm going to post every single day. It's not realistic. It's not. So I encourage you to work up to the goal. If you want to post every day, it's a great goal to work up to. Just maybe try several times per week, because regular posting is better than like you posted every single day for a week, but then you got really burnt out and you're not feeling it. So then you just leave it for, I don't know, maybe a month and a half. Maybe somebody did that who's sitting in this chair. I don't know. So anyway, my advice is to just try and post regularly, but don't burn yourself out. A good way to do this is to build up the drafts. So I had mentioned earlier a great way to film was to do them in batches, because we're businesses. It's better to do that for our time, but it's also great to do that for regular posting. If you are out there and you film a bunch of things, you don't necessarily have to film it the day that you don't have to have filmed it the day that you post it. You can kind of reach from that bucket of batches of videos that were just ready to go. So that's a great way to be able to post regularly. And TikTok does reward active, regular posters. You are seen as an authority. You are seen as part of the community. So you will be rewarded with views, which then can help get you the followers and the saves, the shares, the comments, the community, and then eventually the money. From people actually coming to support your business. But there's a lot of legwork. So while you are posting and you're listening, you're seeing content that you really like. Engage with those accounts. TikTok wants to see people using the app, so don't be afraid to like the posts, even of your competitors, and to really engage, especially with influencers, people who are doing really well and promoting gardening. It's It's an easy way to help build up relevant content on your For You page, because then you'll actually see gardening content. If you never like it, then TikTok's going to assume that you don't actually want to see it. So like the things that you want to see more of. And this shows your community that you're listening. If you like and comment on somebody's post, that's going to make them feel more like, oh, I'm going to go ahead and follow them. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to like their posts and I'm going to comment, which just helps everybody. All ships rise with the tide. So this is important. I think this is probably why you are all here. General tips for making a TikTok. So when you're first starting out, you're going to want to make it snappy. You don't really want to post long form videos. You want to create something that's like 8 to 12 seconds long, because that's going to get people's attention and they're going to be able to watch it again very quickly, which then gets you more views. It's sneaky. I know a lot of people don't love being sneaky, but it's a really easy way to make sure that, like, if you write a lot of text on the screen, people have to read it. Are they going to read it in under 8 seconds? Who knows? Maybe they'll have to watch the video again. So that's an easy way to get views. But also, everybody says, I don't necessarily know if I believe it, but attention span, you want to be able to catch somebody's attention and hold it. So you can do that with a really short video. So you have to get to the point, and it's really hard to do. So try really hard to stay at a short video at first. That's what I like to call the hook. You are getting people in and you're like, oh, I like this TikTok channel. I like this business. They post things that make me laugh. And then after you get a good audience, people who are engaging, you definitely do want to post more long form content, but that comes after you feel like, oh, I've gotten started. I'm ready to engage. So that's a little bit longer content, because you want to reel people in, but they're not going to stay there for hooks. They want to eat. So that's when you'll give them that really helpful, really informational, longer form content. You will show them how to prune the plant. You will take them on a tour of your Christmas section of your garden center. You'll actually give them, like I said, more of that food to eat. But at first, definitely keep it short. And that will make it easier for you as well to film multiple videos, because you're getting them done fast. The next thing is to keep it light. Controversial. I'm about to say a bunch of controversial things, so let me have a little sip. I think it's best to keep it positive. I think if you dip into the realm, or at the very most, self-deprecating, but don't dip into the realm of being like, making the customer feel bad, making the gardener feel stupid. Stupid is a really hard word for people to hear, but it's an even harder thing to feel. People don't want to feel stupid. They want to either feel like something's possible, empowered. They want to relate to you, but they don't want to feel stupid. So definitely, as you are posting a video, think about really quickly, is this positive? Or am I just saying like, oh, that one time that I made this mistake? You can relate, right? Like, haha, we all make that mistake, but not like, you make this mistake. I'm the expert and I'm telling you what you've done wrong. Ugh, such a bad feeling. And I might even just go as far as to say, that's a good way to run your life. Just like, I don't know. And I mean, your marketing life. I'm not telling you how to live your life, but like, try and stay positive, because that's how people are going to build a relationship with you, because you have made them feel empowered, and you have been a resource to them, and they're more likely to comment and say, oh my gosh, I made that mistake too, you silly goose. And then you'll be able to laugh about it, and move on from there and keep building a relationship. Whereas like, you're like, oh, only dummies do this thing. People are like, oh, okay, well. So keep it light. Interesting transitions. So if you have seen a TikTok you are likely to have seen a very cool way that the video moved from one video to the next. It's either, there are so many different ways to do it nowadays. There's so many cool ways to make a video feel seamless as opposed to like boop, beep, boop, beep, boop. I'm moving through each video clip and it feels very segmented. It feels choppy. And for like the fashion industry, people will like throw a boot at the camera. The boot will block the camera. And then when the boot is gone, they're in a totally different outfit. Obviously, you can throw a plant at the camera and then have it transition. That sounds really cool. That's an interesting transition. I would watch that. But there are so many ways to do it. So like putting your hand up to the video and then you start the next video with your hand up and then move it away. That's a transition. Flipping the video up and down. Those are just a few easy ways to make a cool transition. If you are not comfortable with this yet, my biggest tip that I got from my amazing friend and colleague, our videographer here at Proven Winners Color Choice, Adriana Robinson. Her best advice for me was when I'm filming something, you will take your camera and you'll keep moving in the same direction. So if you were taking a garden tour and you're moving down the path or you're walking down the aisles of your garden center, either keep moving forward or keep moving in one direction so that when you are putting your videos together, it feels like they're walking too. And it doesn't feel so much like, oh gosh, I'm being tumbled all around. Like this doesn't feel comfortable to watch. And it's subtle. It's not like somebody's going to say that out loud and be like, oh, wow, this video is so choppy. It's just one of those things that happens in the back of your mind where it's just easier to watch a video that seamlessly kind of moves in the same direction. So that's all a lot about the actual taking of the video. Now, the posting of the video. So there's a picture of a screenshot of what it looks like on our homepage. Some of the videos have titles, some of them don't. My recommendation is to title more videos than to title most of your videos. That's my recommendation. Because when people go through, they click through your TikTok and they visit your page, they want to be able to understand what they're about to get into. If they just see a bunch of untitled videos, they might not watch any because they're like, I mean, this is beautiful. It's very pretty, but I don't know where I'm going. And I kind of want to know where I'm going. So giving your video a title helps somebody say like, oh my gosh, no, I do need to know how to prune a buddleia. Yes, I will click into this video. Or like any title, you get titles. I'm not going to explain titles. I'll get that. But try to title your videos. And this goes back to your brand standards, your aesthetic. A lot of people love to use a bunch of different titles. That's fun and exciting. You can definitely do that. And a lot of people like to use the same title. It all depends on what your aesthetic is. Definitely don't let somebody else dictate that. Go with what feels right to your brand and your company. So curate that. And then in the post itself, use the niche hashtags. So when I first started making TikToks, I would be like, okay, I'm going to use hashtag gardening. Oh, it's got 8.6 billion posts. Amazing. My TikTok will do just as well as the other 8.6 billion posts that have been tagged with gardening. Unfortunately, that was not the case. Bigger hashtags don't really give your post the opportunity to shine because it's not the niche. So if you want to use a bigger hashtag, I would say at least balance it out with a niche hashtag. And what I mean by that is that when you go to type it in and you say hashtag garden life and you see that it only has like 12 million posts, that sounds hilariously large still, but like in comparison to billions, that's pretty small. Or it's got 500,000 videos attached to it. That's where you want to live because that is your niche. Those are the people who are really looking for your content, not just kind of like stumbling on it and saying like, oh, I never really considered plants. Whoops-a-daisy, swiping up, I still won't consider plants. So use the niche hashtags. Some of my favorites are very seasonal. So like hydrangea season, in the garden today, garden walk, like kind of just go and explore, see what the numbers are, see what feels right to that specific video. Don't get stuck in the rut of using the exact same hashtags, because you want people to be able to find you who are searching for other things than the people who have already found you through a hashtag. So just a good thing to keep in mind is to use the hashtags, because only people who already are very successful at TikTok get to not use hashtags. You might see a post and you're like, wait a second, Christina told me to use niche hashtags, and this very popular TikTok has millions of views and no hashtags. It's probably because they were already very famous, so people are already going to watch their videos. The next and last thing about the general tips is to respond quickly. Now, this means liking the comments, responding to comments. Responding to comments is one thing that I think is pretty underrated in a lot of other social media, even though I personally love to respond to comments, engage in all the social media audiences. But for TikTok specifically, people seem to really read the comments. So if there is a reason for you to respond to a comment, definitely do that, and try to do it as quickly as possible, because that will show TikTok that you are currently engaging in the video and that it can show more people your video. And a fun thing about TikTok is that you can respond to a comment with a video, which is a great way to make content, because if one person is asking a question about your video, probably a lot of other people have the same question. So it's just a really great way to build that community and become that trusted voice for the people who are enjoying your content. Now, for actual specific video ideas. So if you visit the Proven Winners Color Choice TikTok, you might think to yourself, okay, this is a bit of a roller coaster. Some of them have done really well. Some of them are not doing so well. I am excited to tell you that I am on the journey alongside you of TikTok. But I can share with you things that I have seen that do well. I have seen that these are very reliable, and will definitely work for a business or a brand, because we always have posts like this to make. So when I was talking about engagement, my two favorites are saves and shares, because that is the identity. That's the moment when people are saying, oh, that's me. I can relate to this. This is helpful. So people save things when they think, oh my gosh, yeah, I need to do that, or I need to have that in the garden. So that's a save, and that feels very personal to them. A share is when it is so exciting to them that they feel like it's a piece of their identity, that they need to share it with a close friend of theirs, and share the experience together. And so you can be the vehicle for that moment. So talking about savable posts, that is anything. The sky's the limit. Top 3 plants for shady spots. Top 5 tools for a new gardener. It's anything. It's whatever you want. It's whatever you want to sell. And just kind of make sure it's exciting and people feel like they've gotten something from you, and they're able to feel like that's like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be able to use this. This is going to make my life better, because now I didn't have to do all of the research. I don't have like top 7 easy care perennials. People want to know what this information is so that they don't have to do the research themselves, because they're going to trust you to give them that information. Not well-known facts. This is kind of one of those things that you're only going to want to post after you've gotten started, because it is so niche. You're not just going to start out of the gate being like, Arctostaphylos uva ursi means bear, berry, berry, bear in its scientific name. Like, probably that will delight a number of people, but will they see it? Maybe not. So that's one of the things a little farther down the road. Share your fun facts about plants, about your products, about gardening activities, whatever it is. Very savable. Step-by-step processes. You will notice that this is on both lists because it is such that's such a gobbled up topic. People want to know how to do things. Today, more than ever, people are able to do things that they never thought they'd be able to. I mean, you can fix your own plumbing. You can wire an outlet, but not your breaker box. But you can do so many things that you couldn't do before. So you can be part of that for somebody else. They are going to be able to confidently prune their hydrangea because you put it in a video where they live. And they'll be like, oh my gosh, garden center down the road. And you might be thinking, millions of people use TikTok. How is somebody down the road possibly going to see my channel? It happens. Millions of people use TikTok. So savable, shareable, step-by-step processes, it's on both. On shareable TikTok ideas, relatable situations. This is the heart and soul of, oh my gosh, that's me. And those are posts like, oh my gosh, like last season, I pruned my big leaf hydrangea right at the beginning of the year. People are gonna be like, oh, I did that too. So it's relatable, but it also shares some information. So there are a lot of ways to make a relatable post. But in that self-derogatory way, not the you've done this wrong and I'm laughing at you way. The next one is inspiration. Who doesn't love a before and after? Now, the trick with this is to know that you are going to make a video about it and to get the before. So you've got to be in a habit of just making so many videos that look like nothing that you are going to have to come back to sometime later down the road. And that is like a seasonal switch out. You're like, oh, remember in the springtime when we had all of our tulips and beautiful ranunculus out, and then wham, here we are in the summertime. Look at all this beautiful new stuff we have. That's a great before and after. Obviously, gardens. There was no garden here, and now there's a garden here. Very interesting, very inspirational because people do that all the time. And it's just a really easy way to engage with people and kind of get their wheels turning and thinking, oh, I am inspired to do that. So we have moved through all of it. We have moved through how to start and what to consider while you're making your TikTok content. And I am excited for all of you to go out there and make some TikTok content. Be sure to email me your TikTok handle. I would love to be able to follow all of you. And even if it's an Instagram handle, definitely send it to me in an email, and I'd love to follow you and engage with you because I love sharing garden center content. That is one of the biggest things that we like to do for Proven Winners Color Choice Shrubs is have people go get these big, beautiful, mature shrubs where they live. There's nothing more magical than that. So I see that we've got some questions in the Q&A. So I'll stop sharing my screen. There we go.
Well, we've got a ton, Christina. So that was awesome content. So I'm going to try to start sort of from the top. But so you'd mentioned a little bit about, talking about informational videos versus sort of promotional or just fun videos. Do you have, is there a secret sauce as far as the percentage of each for consumers?
I'm so sorry. You had cut out there in the audio for a second. So it was.
So just looking at, promotional versus informational videos, is there a percentage that you would, recommend?
Okay. Promotional versus informational. The word promotional is hard, right? Because it often means you're being sold to, which we absolutely are being sold to all of the time. So I hesitate to say that I have a percentage that I would give because I think that all videos can secretly be promotional videos, but are actually delivering the service that the plant provides to you, the experience it provides to you, as opposed to like, this plant gets 3 to 5 feet tall. Here it is in the garden center. Come pick it up. It's like you're getting to know the plant. So I would say try to pose every video as informational or relatable as opposed to promotional. Okay. I know that's the answer they probably wanted.
That's okay. So Tyler had a really good question too about your thoughts about posting the same content on Instagram and TikTok versus having unique content for each of the platforms.
I will say that you will probably have a hard time doing that because the audios hardly ever overlap at the same time. So you probably won't find the audio on Instagram if it's trending on TikTok because there is a bit of a lag between TikTok and Instagram. But that to say, I think you can definitely post a video that you've gotten out while you were shooting. I think that it is worth tweaking it a little bit if you can, just in case you're being followed and like by the same person in both spots. It also, I don't know. I suppose it's a situational thing.
Yeah.
Oh, I do say one thing I will say though is I have not seen a great response when posting a TikTok that has been downloaded to a phone right onto Instagram with the little TikTok watermark. So just for what it's worth.
Great info there for sure. So you were talking a little bit about audio, and we do have an audio question from Robin. And so she was just asking, how do you know if audio is licensed for commercial use once you've actually saved that? Are there any things that they need to be cognizant of in that realm?
You will not be able to save the audio if it is not available for commercial use. That's it.
That makes life easy. Exactly.
You.
So Abby asked a question kind of to the whole group, but I'm gonna pose it to you, Christina, about what your opinion is on asking a question in the video and asking them to comment.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, I love that. I will say that it is something you can do immediately if you are brave and you are fine with getting crickets. But if you want to save it after you have a pretty good following and then you feel like you're getting good engagement, then you might actually get some good responses. So I definitely think asking questions is awesome because it's a way to let the person know that you were thinking of them when you were videoing it or when you were making it and that you want to engage and get like that conversation going.
Yeah, that's great. I love it. So I know early on in the webinar, you were talking a little bit about the initial videos as you're starting with TikTok tend to be short, right? Very quick clips. Mm-hmm. But as you're sort of progressing into, we've started to build the audience, we're getting more interaction. Is there a sweet spot as far as video length that you would recommend?
Okay, so anybody who writes content or is making a video probably has come to the feeling at some point that it should not be longer than it has to be. So definitely try to make it as short as possible, be as concise as possible, get the point across, and then get out of there. I don't think it'll let you make a video that's longer than a minute and a half. So
perfect. So what about, I know as you start thinking about, obviously you're building, the garden centers are building their brand and there are certain things and components that are part of each of those videos. What is your thought process on, should it be one person that is really being spotlighted in those videos, or do you like incorporating, different staff members depending on what's happening?
Right. A great question. So I would say it just depends on what your situation is. If there is one person who's running your TikTok, and they're kind of doing it in a vacuum, it might just naturally end up being one person. But I think that the appeal to including more people when possible is that you have more chances for your customer to say, oh, there I am. I see me in this company. I feel related to, I feel like.
Yeah. I love that. So quick question for you, Christina, because I know obviously you said you've had some hits and some misses and we're all going to have them, right? When we try this. Yeah. So what are the best videos? Like, what are your top 3?
On our proven winners?
Yep.
Well, one of our best videos was a top 3 tips. I'm very excited to share this with this audience in particular. Top 3 tips for choosing a gift at a garden center. What? I was specifically talking about all of you, but for choosing a plant. So it was just helping people because it was around Mother's Day. So people really liked that video. But that's only one, and you asked for 3. So I think one of them might have been a tour. People really like to be able to see. We have some really fabulous display gardens here in Grand Haven, Michigan at Spring Meadow Nursery. So we have some really beautiful display gardens. So people always resonate with when we show them those. And the last is probably a stock field video, a before or like a before, during, and an after. So just showing what the plants looked like at the beginning of the season, the middle of the season, and then wham, at the end of the season, because it was a panicle hydrangea, and those are gorgeous at the end of the season. So progression videos that do take a lot longer and a lot more planning, but worth it.
Yeah, that's awesome. So Renee asked a really good question, because not everyone on the call or on the webinar is a garden center. She was saying, hey, if my business is more informational, where like I'm selling information instead of selling plants, she's asking, is TikTok a good venue for an informational business? Is that something that you would recommend, or do you think she should be looking at another platform potentially?
Well, I think that anyone can find their niche here. The brands and the garden centers are playing a long game here, because it is about the impressions the people are getting. They are getting to know the business, and when they have need of it, may come to use it. I suppose it depends on the kind of information, because if you're having success on Instagram, or if your newsletters get a really amazing response rate, stick to that. You are crushing it, and you have already figured out how to connect with the people who need to hear from you. Because it's worth doing a few things really well instead of a lot of things not very well.
Yeah.
That's my advice.
That's great. So I think we've kind of gone through a lot of the questions that we've received. I know, Christina, you had your information on the last slide, and certainly would highly recommend, everyone on the webinar and those that will join us later in the recording portion of that. I think, reach out. There's a lot of folks at Proven Winners, Christina included, that would love to chat about your questions and help answer those. Felicia did a great thing. She actually put some information on how to follow her business. If there are others of you that are on the call that have TikTok, to Christina's point, please share that with us. We'd love to follow you. We'd love to interact there on that platform as well. So I'm going to leave the chat open. I have a few things I wanted to share just to sort of round out the webinar session. And Christina, I just wanted to sincerely thank you. It was an amazing amount of information. I'm sure we're going to have you back for probably more questions that garden centers have. So I'm going to share my screen really quickly and share just a few more things with you all. Let me skip here. So, Christina talked an awful lot about TikTok and about social media and those platforms. One of the things that Proven Winners does as a brand is we really work to partner very closely with independent garden centers. And so one of the ways that we do that is through a program that we call Connect Plus. And that's really created to provide exclusive marketing solutions for garden centers. We don't offer that to box stores and not to anyone else. And so the goal of Connect Plus is really to come alongside and support your marketing and to help you to leverage really the marketing power of the Proven Winners brand in total. And so we'd love to have a conversation with you and would love to have you take a look at all of the different pieces and parts of that program. There's a lot of social media tools, but also additional tools and support mechanisms to help you as you plan for 2023. We also have a webinar next week. And so, as Christina said, most of us are plant people, right? We love plants. We want to hear about new plants. And so we have John Gatos and Kevin Hurd joining us next week to talk about must-have annuals for spring 2023. And again, I wanted to remind you, you could sign up for our webinars on the link on your screen, and you can also access all of our recordings there as well. So with that, I just simply want to, again, thank Christina for her time and for sharing a lot of information and knowledge with us. And also thanking all of you for your support and your partnership. It's exciting. We're really thrilled about 2023 and really want to help come alongside you and help 23 to be the best season ever. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.